welcome back. This is part 3 of our conversation with Enrique Garcia and Joel Benavides, talking about Devons in Texas and Mexico. This is part 3. Enrique left us there at the end of part 2, and it's just me and Joel, but it was too good to stop, so we continued on. Hope you enjoy.
All right. Yeah, Jeremy. In our case, I would say about 70% of the animals will survive very well. The other 30% will struggle because, like Enrique said, it's a huge change, not only in the weather conditions, but in the amount of miles they need to walk each day and so on. And with the sun, at 115 degrees here, super dry. So yeah, I would say, that's why I mentioned that, whoever wants to start with the different breed, that the one that they have, or want to improve the quality of the beef that they have, they need to be patient. It's nature. It's common sense that it's going to take time. But based on all the different breeds that we have had in the past in our ranch, I would say the last 50 years, by far, Devon has been the best one by far. So yeah, we lost some of the cows, or they did. They needed to be helped. As be close. We needed to have them close by. To help them adapt. So those were not the optimal animals that we were looking for, of course, because it's a different kind of operation here. But other than that, we've seen amazing results. And of course, like I said, it takes time. This is not magic. It's nature. And but what I can assure you, yeah, and if in Enrique's place it will take 2-3 years. Here, I would say maybe 5 years, twice as much. And some of them, very few of them will definitely not be able to adapt, especially when you bring him. That has a lot to do, Jeremy, because maybe you bring him in October, which the weather is the perfect here, and they will not have any issues of it until June or July of next year, or they were able to adapt during that process. But if you bring him in April or May, it's going to be tough because the change in the weather, it's going to be tremendous.
What would the ideal group of cattle, if I'm sending you a load, would you rather get a load of heifers for me in the fall, or cows that are short bred or long bred, or cows? I mean, it'd be tough to send cows with calves that side because you'd have to stop and nurse them along the way and do that sort of thing. But what group of cattle would you feel the most comfortable from a management side bringing in?
I totally agree that the younger the better, for sure. And in the fall, yeah, that will be less drastic for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Plus, then if you don't breed them at a year, you wait till they're 18 months, or you give them a little more time to adapt before you put them to work.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
that option, right?
Yeah. That's the other thing that we've been doing with our cattle. We let them, we have them in a separate pasture where we allow them to grow a little bit better, have the perfect size, and then we put them into production. And we have seen tremendous benefits by doing that. We're just waiting a little bit more for them to get that to the right size and everything, because I mean, who better than you knows how early they get into being productive, right? so yeah, we want to keep them until they get into a better shape and size, and then we'll put them into production.
Well, as we talk, I keep getting more and more questions. Are you good to keep going a little bit?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So you just said about how early these animals go into production, and I know I've had bull calves breeding and young heifers breeding, and you're keeping bulls out all year long. So at what age, or do you do it based on weight? Do you say we got to get all these heifers and your heifers, right? You got some big ones, some medium ones, some little ones. So how often are you pulling a group of heifers out, and at what size are you going, "Oh, wow, we better get her out of there. She's going to get bred."
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes that happens because, like I mentioned before, we gather the cattle into our ranch corrals twice a year. That's when we make the biannual sales, uh, and that's when we do all the work. It takes us about 2 or 3 days to finish it. Oh, well, about 2 days to finish everything. The 500 cattle. I mean, yeah, heads and when we have that's when we do all the work, Jeremy. All cows that we prefer to have them sacrificed because of how old they are, and replace them with new ones, and then we separate the how do you call it, Jeremy, when you separate
Weaning.
the wing, exactly. Thank you. The
Yep.
weaning, we do all that process there, and that's when we separate the heifers and keep them close by for a couple of months, I would say, and then it has to do with both the age and the weight, like you mentioned. And once we get into the numbers that my apologies for not having that in my mind right now, exactly the weight that where we think it's the perfect way for them to start working or producing. But yeah, it's I think we give them about 3-4 months with us before we send them into production. And gosh, I just forgot the exact, the precise weight of them. I don't have it in my
No,
mind right
no,
now. I
that's
apologize, but
that's fine. I mean, in this country, the average Devon producer's got 15 to 30 cows,
mhm.
maybe. And so somebody's there when mama's having a baby, and somebody puts eyes on her twice a day, and the cattle don't need a lot of assistance, right? But in your case, right? So my question is, we keeping those heifers now, and we've weaned them off mama, and I go out in the pen and I look, and here's a 750 pound heifer, and she's starting to bag up. So we didn't get her weaned quite quick enough, and she's starting to develop. And I mean, you can put her on a truck and sell her. You can give her lutein and dexamethasone and abort that calf. You can let her go on and have the calf. I mean, maybe there's another option I'm not aware of, but how do you, I mean, I have to deal with that once or twice on my farm, and we're running 250, 300. And we're not leaving the bull out all year, so I guess you probably see it a couple more times than I do.
Yeah. Yeah, in our case, you just get surprises. We go outside and to the fields and notice that there are a lot of new babies coming out, and so yeah, it's not something that we have the capacity to be looking at it on a daily basis. So and I'm
But you
sure that
don't have high death loss they just have the babies and pretty much take
yes,
care of it.
yes, in a
Yeah.
very natural way. Yes, yes. Like, yeah, like wild animals, but they're not wild at all. They're very docile. Yeah.
Years ago, I was a founding member of the Virginia Meat Goat Association. So all these goats, goat farming kind of came to Virginia in a bigger way. And in Texas and in other places that had goats, the goats just did what you just described. They just and of course a goat won't have one baby, it'll have two or three babies, and Mother Nature will typically take one or two of those. But
Yeah.
what happened in Virginia was all these people started trying to put a bunch of goats in the barn and kid them out. Well, they smother each other. They have you had more loss with that than you did letting them go out in nature and do their thing. And um, nature versus nurture, right? But that hands off approach, and I think that's what we all want. Even people in a situation like Enrique's, they don't want to. You don't have to milk a cow or pull a calf or
Yeah.
assist in any way. And as you said, you guys identified those animals and moved them out. What's so at Enrique's place, and I was at my place. I'm different environment than he is, but I'm a cow to every 2.5 acres here at our place and our some of our rental farms. You've got more acreage. We're both looking for like a frame 4,000 pound cow. I don't know how well that cow does traveling 3 miles to get a drink of water. Are you looking for a framier,
Yeah.
heavier cow, a little more?
Yeah, we are. We are
What what
looking for a
what's your ideal cow? What size are you?
ah, that's gonna be a tough question for me to ask. I mean to respond, Jeremy. Um, I don't have the exact numbers in my mind to be able to answer that properly. Um, I guess most of what we do is based on observation, not merely, weighing every cow and seeing, how they behave and so on. It's more uh
Yeah.
simpler
So visually,
visually.
is
Yeah.
it a bigger framed cow or is it more clearance from the ground or is it just we want a bigger cow?
Not necessarily. We tried. I would classify it as a mid-sized cow because we don't like big size cows. That could eat as much more than a mid-sized cow and produce you the same amount of
Calves.
weight for the calves, right? So
Efficiency
no,
goes down in a bigger cow.
yes,
Yep.
yes, absolutely,
So
yes, and
efficiency is more of a concern than traveling ability. I mean, obviously you need both,
yeah.
right? But in some of the lines of cattle, and they carry a lot more skin. You know, that dewlap area up in the brisket and down below and in the sheath is heavy leather an issue where you are? I mean, is there a lot of thorns and stuff they've got to deal with?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Everything has thorns here. So yeah, we try to have as much space as possible from the ground up, you know. We do look a lot for that. And yeah, that's something that we really need to be aware of when we decide which type of heifers live at the ranch.
Yeah, they might be visually appealing, but not work in this environment or this situation. Same thing with milk. I would guess a cow with too much milk falls apart and doesn't rebreed in your situation. That low and moderate milk is probably more what you guys are looking for.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Well, um, this has been awesome. Enrique Ribas in Brazil is who you've talked to, and he's a good friend, and he's done so much for Devon cattle in Brazil. And there's also some. I mean, I'm not going to start naming names because I'll get in trouble. But so many wonderful people in Brazil, and that are all doing wonderful things. Enrique's really in the meat world at this point. But those, those borders and those laws change and fluctuate, and um, if you get them into Mexico, I'm going to be calling you to see how I can get them into the U.S. And I know he's also talked to Brad Gibson up in Canada. If we could get them up there, we could bring them down through because. Enrique and even more those that went before him did so much in terms of breed improvement and um, uh, and they're just working with so much more volume of pure, if I got 1,000 and you got 100, I should produce better bulls than you each year. I should just, I got to select right, but just on sheer volume, should be able to do more. But um, I would love to take you up on you and your brother joining us for a future podcast. It's going to get hot here in the summer. You said you're already hot there, so maybe we'll circle back in the fall or next spring and um, get a little bit more into some performance numbers in your area and some bloodlines that have worked. We'll put up
Yeah,
that triple play bull, but obviously you have other um, and we can dig deeper.
I agree. Thank you so much, Jeremy.
Thank you so much. Say hi to your brother for me,
I
and
will.
I will reach out to you with when this is coming out. We're trying to stockpile a few of these so we can keep putting one a month out. So it'll be a little bit, but you'll get a heads up from me and then a link to it. And to everybody listening and watching at the end or on Spotify, we'll have all the normal emails and websites for Red Devon USA and Lakota Ranch and Joel and Enrique's contact information for them and their ranches as well, and anything else we mentioned along the way. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next Devon Corner.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me stop this thing recording now.